Hi friends, we're back, and our Walk on Water lesson this week is on week 2, and the word and theme is pray. And so we made it through week 1, send, and now we're moving on to pray. And one thing just right off the bat is this is a story of Jesus praying, and it says in Matthew 14:23. The beginning of 23, after he had dismissed them, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And so we have to remember the context. Jesus had just fed 5,000 people. He had to be exhausted. He sent his disciples out, we learned last week, and now he's going to pray because prayer is very important to Jesus. And we see throughout the Gospels that Jesus prays everywhere he goes. And he prays before big missions and before sending out his disciples. He prays with his disciples. He prays by himself. He prays on the cross. He prays in the Garden of Gethsemane. So Jesus is telling us that prayer is very important. So I'm hoping that this chapter this week helps your prayer life, whatever that looks like as we get started. And so one key question is, what is prayer? And what I like to say, and keep it very simple, is prayer is a conversation with God. But it's a two-way stream of communication. It's not just us sending up our vending machine prayers, telling God, this is what I need, please heal this person, please intervene in this situation. But it's also listening. In fact, for me, I've learned that's a very big part of it, because the whole goal is to improve our relationship and grow closer to the Lord. And so that's what prayer is all about. And so let's start with week 2, day 1. So as I just read, Jesus dismissed them and he went up to the mountain to pray. And so a question to think about is prayer a part of your life, just like it was for Jesus? Again, there's a lot of examples of people praying in the Bible, but Jesus did it, and so that should be our number one reason. If no one else prayed, it wouldn't matter, because Jesus prayed and was showing us that this is very important, this constant communication. And I have to say, I pray all day long. I'm like, Lord, help me. Thank you. I'm constantly thanking Lord for his favor. Everywhere I go, I see God, in my life. And so, he's concerned about the small things and the big things in our life. So just keeping that communication going. And I start my day every day in prayer. In fact, I have a prayer app called Echo, and I have all my prayers on it, because often I'll say to someone, oh, I'll pray for you. And then by the time I get home or wherever I am, I forget. So if it's helpful to you as well, there are several prayer apps. I've been using Echo for over 7 years, and you can find it in the App Store, and it helps track your prayers. It's good for using in groups. You can send people notifications, so it actually pings their phone when you're praying for them. So anyway, there are lots of tools to help you with your prayer life, because Jesus said this is important. And on day 2, Jesus is actually giving us guidance on how to pray, because some people say, well, I don't know, how do I do it? Should I be formal? Should I be casual? I think God honors any time that you stop, pause, and just talk to him. I really believe that. And I know that's been true in my life. And the more I do it, the more of a routine. It's like brushing my teeth. Every morning I'm praying. Without it, and if I don't, my day is not as peaceful if I don't take that time. So we need to pray for each other, and just every single day. And so in day 2, Jesus tells us how to pray. And so this is known as the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we have forgiven also our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. That is the verse in Matthew. So in the book on page 19, in the Dig Deeper, it actually shows you the Matthew, Luke, and Mark versions of the Lord's Prayer. But that's the one that we've recited in church and that most of us know. So day 2 can give you some guidance on how to pray. Day 3, I love this, and this is the one I most relate with, this is Hannah's prayer for a son. And so she is crying out to the Lord, and many times our prayers are with tears, and that's okay. The whole book of Lamentations is lamenting, and so it's okay to cry out to God for something. But we have to always remember that sometimes our prayers are not answered, or our requests are not answered in the way that we expect, but God knows best. And I can look back on some unanswered prayers and say, thank you, Lord. And so then on day 4, we have Solomon. So King Solomon, who reigned 40 years in the United Kingdom, he was David's son, and God said he could ask for anything. And what did he ask for? A discerning heart. I just love this. He was king, and this is what he asked for. He wanted to be wise and have a discerning heart, so that there will never be anyone like you, not there ever will be. And so God, that's how God responded. There will never be anyone like you, because I think it was such a strange request. Like, he wanted wisdom. That's what he asked for. And so God not only gave him the wisdom, but he gave him, it says in 1 Kings 3:12-13, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And so he was very humble. Solomon asked for wisdom, and God not only gave him wisdom, but he also gave him wealth and all the other things that he could have asked for. So if you could ask God for anything, what would it be? And here's the hint. You can. So, but again, it may not be answered in the way that you think, but God always answers our prayers. And so again, just not in the timing, not in the way that we sometimes hope they'll be answered. And so day 5 is a very difficult day, because this is Jesus praying, Lord, take this cup from me. He knows that the road ahead is not going to be good. He's crying out to the Lord that his tears become blood. Her sweat becomes like drops of blood, it says in Luke 22:41-44. And as we know how the story ends, that God did not take that cup from his own son, that cup of sorrow and suffering. And so sometimes our prayers do go unanswered, or again, God answered it in a different way. Jesus did go through the suffering. He did die on the cross, but he was resurrected all for us. And so God's hand was at work, even though it seemed in the darkest hours on Good Friday that it was over, but it wasn't. And so never, ever give up on those prayers. Never give up praying for your loved ones who are hurting. Never give up on your hopes and dreams, and God will answer them. We just don't know how, and we don't know when. And so that is our week 2 overview for our lessons on prayer. And so I hope again that this week inspires you to really pray about your prayer life, and to see what adjustments maybe you can make to your schedule to be consistent. I know if I don't pray in the morning, it just doesn't happen. I pray throughout the day, but I have that solid time with the Lord to do my devotion and my prayer. For me, it has to be the morning, but you have to figure out what works for you. So thank you so much. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.